what is mental health in a nutshell for people who are like, what is this topic everybody's talking about?
So I think that's a really great question, Nona, because oftentimes we confuse mental health with mental illness. And if you think about mental health on a spectrum, you think about it as physical health on a spectrum. We have good physical health, then we have compromised physical health, and then we have poor physical health, and then we have physical illness. You know, there are days where you are exercising and you are sleeping and you are eating right and you're hydrated and you are feeling like you can conquer the world, and that's like a good physical health. Then maybe you go on vacation, or maybe you have, nights where you've stayed up too late, or you're eating junk, or things where now you're starting to feel compromised. If you stay like that for too long, you will get sick. Right? You will get some sort of illness. You might get the cold, you might get the flu, you might get body aches, you might GI issues, and then eventually it might become a physical illness. The same thing goes for mental health. There are people who have good mental health, they're able to cope with their daily stressors, they're able to cope with things that life is presenting to them, contributing to their society, just feeling in a state of well-being. Then maybe they don't sleep properly, or a big life event happens, maybe they've had a loss, a breakup, and so now they're starting to feel compromised. If they don't have good practices in place, or if they just sort of let themselves slide, they will move into poor mental health. But poor mental health is not the same thing as mental illness. Depression and anxiety lay beyond poor mental health, where you've now been in a state of poor mental health for many weeks, and you can now say we are in a diagnosed state of depression, anxiety, or another mental illness. That's how I want people to sort of think about that. Then we can say that, oh man, I'm sliding, I'm slipping, I'm moving into a state where I'm feeling a lot more compromised, rather than you're good one day and then you have depression the next day. It doesn't work like that. And the more stressors you're contending with, and the less ability you have to cope, or good mental health practices you have in place, that's where you will start to feel more and more compromised.
So if you feel like anxious a couple days a week, that's normal?
It depends on what you're contending with. I mean, if it's a new job, or you're a new mother, or you just got married, or you have other things that are new in your life, anxiety is a very normal emotion, because this is new and I'm learning to cope with this, or I'm learning to deal with this. Now, if that persists every day, most of the day, all day, where you're no longer going out, you're no longer wanting to go to work, you're no longer seeing your friends, okay, now we are moving into the space of this is becoming a clinical issue.
And it's like crippling your life, crippling
Yes.
your prosperity, your productivity, and everything.
Yes, where you have a prolonged experience of a certain set of symptoms, and that is now impacting your social functioning, your emotional, relational, occupational functioning to a major degree. That's when we know that it is a clinical issue. If I wake up today, I'm going to have this recording and I'm feeling a little bit nervous, okay, that makes me human.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm feeling like that every day, all day, most of the day, now I should go seek help.
That's so interesting. I feel like I feel anxious a lot of the times, but after hearing everything you're saying, I'm like, I think it's because I'm always challenging myself. It's like I'm always biting off more than I can chew. So I'm always doing new things and like just trying to cope with like change. But I guess it's like a behavioral pattern, not like something that's like wrong with like my life at a constant, I guess.
And you don't want to always be in a state of
I
anxiety
need to stop.
too. You want to have periods where you're pushing yourself and then you're recuperating, and you're pushing yourself and you're recuperating. So if you do live a life where you're constantly challenging yourself, then you have got to have like Jedi practices in place where you are connecting to the source, you're connecting to your inner source, and you're soothing that nervous system back down again to a state of calm. And then you challenge yourself again. If you stay in that state, that can actually compromise your physical and mental health.
Oh boy, we need to talk later. This is probably another conversation, because the constant state I live in is like, I never really give myself a chance to like.
But people can get addicted to that
I
state.
think I am.
There is an addiction to that dopamine and that adrenaline that we get when we are in a state of stress, and that we need to break that cycle, because I'm sure there's anxiety that shows up when you're not doing something. It's like, well, should I be doing something? I should be doing something, right? That is where the addiction comes in, the addiction to stress and the addiction to busyness.
Thank you so much. Bye, guys.
Bye.